Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where Karen really wants her daughter to have an iPhone. Am I the jerk for buying an Android instead of an iPhone, which is now affecting my mother's health? After 4 years of using an iPhone SE and many more years with other iPhones before that, I, 22 female, recently made the decision to switch to an Android. There were a few main reasons behind this decision. The first was storage issues. My old iPhone was constantly full and I could never add new apps or take more pictures without deleting something. But the biggest reason was the way my mother had been using the Find My app. She's always been a bit controlling, but this was taking it to a new level. If my phone battery died, or if I was out later than she expected, she would call and text me nonstop, sometimes accusing me of being irresponsible or reckless. I remember one specific instance when my phone's battery died at the mall and she found out my location was stuck there overnight. She called me frantic, saying she was worried sick and could barely sleep, thinking I was in some kind of trouble. When I explained that my phone simply died and I was safe at home, she didn't seem convinced. I didn't have the password to my Apple ID, and my parents have always refused to give it to me, so I couldn't turn off the location tracking. I started to feel trapped, unable to make decisions for myself without my mom always knowing my every move. I believe I'm old enough to have some independence, so I saved up and bought the Samsung. It was a big step, but I thought it was worth it to take control of my life. When I told my mom about the change, her reaction was more intense than I thought it would be. I expected her to be a little disappointed, but I didn't expect the full-blown argument that erupted. "What do you mean you bought an Android phone?" She was sitting at the dining table, arms crossed, eyes locked on me like she was trying to read my mind. "It's just a phone, Mom. I needed more storage, and I wanted to be able to use it without you tracking me all the time." "Tracking you? I'm not tracking you. I'm just making sure you're safe. Do you have any idea how many times I've worried myself sick because I couldn't reach you? And now you're going to just throw all that away for a phone you don't even know how to use? This is ridiculous." "Mom, I'm not a kid anymore. I should be able to make my own choices. Every time I go out, I feel like you're watching me. It's exhausting." "Exhausting? You think it's exhausting for you? I'm the one who's up all night when I can't reach you. I'm the one who has to worry when you don't answer your phone, and now you're saying I should just stop caring? This is not just a phone thing. This is about being responsible." "Responsible? Mom, I'm a student. I have a lot going on. You know how hard it is to balance school, work, and everything else? But I can't even have a life outside of that without you making me feel guilty. I'm not asking for permission every time I want to go out, and I shouldn't have to. I just want you to be safe. That's all. The world is dangerous, and I don't want to lose you." "I know you're scared, but I'm not a little kid anymore. I know how to take care of myself. I can't live my whole life under your shadow." There was a long silence between us. I could see the way she was trying to hold back tears, but the frustration was still there. "You'll regret this. I hope you realize that." The next day, my dad called. He was less emotional, but still not pleased. "Are you sure you want to go through with this? It's a big change, and it's not just about the phone. It's about how we'll all adjust," he said, trying to sound logical. "I know it's a big change, Dad, but I need to find a balance between being part of the family and having my own life." "You're the first in the family not to have an iPhone. It's not just a phone. It's part of who we are. It's what we're used to." "I know, but it's also why I had to do this. I just needed to break away, even if it's hard." My mother's anxiety has already started to show. She was more restless, snapping at my dad over minor things, and sighing dramatically when she thought I wasn't looking. I felt guilty for causing that, but I couldn't let this guilt stop me from taking control of my life. It wasn't just about the phone, it was about standing up for my independence and taking steps towards a life where I could feel like my own person. Am I the jerk for buying this phone? Not the jerk. You're an adult, even if you're still partially dependent on your parents because you're a full-time student. It's not normal or healthy to obsess over your location, and you and your dad should be gently guiding your mom towards professional psychiatric help for her anxiety. Set this boundary now so that your parents can get used to treating you like the adult you are, and they won't be learning to deal with this cold turkey when you graduate and presumably move out on your own permanently. Good luck, OP. Speaking of phones, what do you have, Android or iPhone? Please let us know. Wow, talk about brand loyalty. Today I messed up by knocking on my girlfriend's door. My girlfriend lives in my apartment complex, and I met her one day in September while I was out walking my dog. We ended up going on a date that same night and pretty much instantly hit it off and started hanging out with each other almost every day. We would spend whole days together on weekends, and we did so many fun things together. I really enjoyed her company and started falling for her. My girlfriend warned me in November that from mid-month to December 15th, she would be unavailable. I thought that meant that I wouldn't see her as often. I didn't know that it meant communication from her would almost be non-existent. She stopped texting me the usual "I miss you" or saying "good night, handsome." It started going longer between texts. After a week and a half of this, I talked with her and asked if she was okay and if we were okay. She explained that we were okay, but she was just incredibly busy, and all she really has capacity for is work and sleep, and maybe stopping to eat. But she apologized for making me feel anxious and said she would try. Well, time went on, and it got to be 2 weeks since we had spent any time together. I had gotten to see her a few times for maybe 5 minutes in passing. Then my texts and calls started going unanswered. She had told me the last time we were able to speak on the phone that if I ended up getting off early enough on the following Saturday that I could come over for a bit and we could hang out. I called her that night and it rang to voicemail. I walked my dog when I got home, and when I walked by her apartment, I saw that all of her lights were off. So when I got home, I texted that it looked like she passed out and I hope she got some good sleep. I didn't hear back for 3 full days. It didn't look to me like her car had even moved out of her driveway. I never saw her lights on passing by her house. I started to get worried about her because I know she struggles with certain health issues, is super stressed, and hates her job. It seems like she suffers from symptoms of depression. So I texted her, just saying I wanted to check in on her, and it makes me feel worried when I don't hear back for this long from her. I still didn't hear anything that day. By the following day, I was extremely worried about her. I couldn't think about anything else. I reached out to her best friend and asked when the last time was that she had heard from her. She told me it was the prior week. I expressed my worry and said I wanted to give her space, but that I was getting worried and I was thinking about going to check on her. Her friend told me that 4 days is plenty of space and that I should go check on her. I went home on my lunch break and I walked over to her house. My anxiety was in my throat. It was still dark in her house from what I could see. Her blinds were all closed. I knocked on the front door, no answer. I rang the doorbell, no answer. I knocked again a bit harder, no answer. Rang the doorbell again, nothing. I knocked hard enough that I felt like she would be able to hear it from the bedroom. No answer. I had my phone out with her text message up and I started seeing the typing bubble. "I'm on a client call. Stop knocking." I immediately left. I sent a text message saying sorry, I was just really worried about her. I thought more and added a little later that I realized I went overboard with the knocking and I was really sorry. It went another full day and I didn't hear back. I talked to my father, who said it doesn't seem like she is communicating, treating you very well. I told him I just wanted to talk to her, and I had half a mind to go knock on her door now, at night, just to talk with her and let her know what's going on in my mind. But I was worried about looking crazy or ruining things further. He asked me how much would change from how things have been going. At least if I did this and I could talk with her, I would have an answer. So I wrote a text telling her I was going to stop by in 5 minutes just to chat for a bit, and that it really was important that we talked. I went over and rang the doorbell, no answer. When I went home and wrote a text telling her how much I liked her and how this whole situation was making me feel, how I was feeling like I was being ignored and being treated less than, how I needed some communication, how a single text every once in a while would go such a long way. I told her this wasn't a, "you need to call me tonight or it's over," but I said I needed to hear from her. I woke up the following morning to see she had sent me a long text around 4 a.m., telling me how busy she has been, which I knew. How she has barely had capacity to even get to her desk, that she's been working 14-hour days and just crashing, telling me that she had already told me she would be unavailable. She said coming to her door while she was working and banging on it was incredibly uncalled for. She said her car had clearly been moved. She said that me doing that while I knew she would be unavailable and she was at work, she works from home, during work hours is a hard line for her. I didn't know that unavailable meant zero contact or being able to see her at all. But regardless, in one fell swoop, I ended my relationship with someone I cared about deeply, all because I couldn't get a grip on my anxiety and be patient. I don't get this. I don't care how busy someone is. If they can't take 30 seconds to be like, "I'm sorry, I'm swamped. Talk later," then you're nowhere on their list of priorities. No, man, you didn't lose anything. She ghosted you. She left you and didn't want to make it official. Unavailable does not mean disappear into the void. It means I won't have time for dinner or hanging out. If she couldn't carve out 5 minutes here and there to even say, "Oh man, that was a rough day. I can't wait till busy time is over and we can hang out again," then she's not making any effort and it was never a good relationship. Be sad, talk to friends and family, feel better, and move on. You deserve better out of a partner. Good luck. Wow, this is the saddest post I've seen in a while. The epitome of pathetic. The fact that you're longing for someone this way who obviously doesn't give two hoots about you. This is why guys need hobbies and passions in life. Go to a gym, start a side hustle, make some friends and go camping. When you're this desperate for a girlfriend that you bow down to someone who treats you this way, it's over for you, my guy. Ouch. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think she's his girlfriend anymore, but don't quote me on that. Am I the jerk for sending my sister flowers anonymously and making her husband upset? I, 37 male, have always been close to my sister, who's 35. We talk regularly, and during one such conversation, she told me she's been feeling really depressed and overwhelmed lately. As we were talking, I could tell she was holding back tears. So I decided to do something nice for her. I contacted a local florist and put in an order for some flowers. I had them delivered to my sister's place of employment with a note reading, "Thinking of you." A few hours later, the florist called me up and told me a man has been calling them nonstop and demanding they tell him who sent his wife the flowers. They tried to explain that it was against their policy to reveal that information, but the man wouldn't take no for an answer. Apparently, he became so aggressive and threatening over the phone, the shop called me up and asked my permission to reveal the name of the sender to the man being my brother-in-law. It turns out my sister had called her husband and thanked him for the flowers. He told her he hadn't sent any flowers and accused her of having an affair. He believed her affair partner had sent them to her, which is why he called the florist like a lunatic, demanding names. Now my sister is more depressed than ever, and she's been fighting with my brother-in-law ever since. My friends think I should have included my name on the card. Had I done that, they say, this blow-up would have never happened. I say it's my brother-in-law to blame, and he was the one who can't control his temper. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Everyone sucks here. So I'm not sure how anyone thinks sending anonymous flowers to a married woman would end up well. You're 37, old enough to know better. Sister thinks husband did a nice thing for her. Turns out husband did not. Who did? Why did you not sign the card? Have you told them it was you? Husband is an all-around jerk for flying off the handle right away. Why assume that his wife is having an affair right off the bat? I have a feeling sister is depressed because of him. Even if husband kindly said that it wasn't him, where does that leave her? Calling everyone she knows, not knowing who sent them? Begging the florist to tell her so she can say thank you? Maybe she thinks it was a stalker or someone who has a crush on her and is really uncomfortable. I'm assuming you know your brother-in-law and this isn't 100% out of character. But even if he isn't usually prone to rage, most people would at least feel uncomfortable or somewhat suspicious. You're the jerk. Her husband has every right to be freaking out. His wife got flowers from some random guy and thought they were from him. I'd be going off the rails too if some random guy sent flowers to my wife. This is 100% on you, and I just feel bad for your sister and her husband. Hope they go no contact with you since you are a source of their problems and you don't even care. You're not the jerk. Your intention was kind and thoughtful. It was your brother-in-law's insecurity and overreaction that caused the problem. Including your name on the card might have prevented the initial misunderstanding, but it wouldn't have stopped his aggressive behavior. It's unfortunate that your sister is caught in the middle of this. Perhaps you could offer her support and comfort during this difficult time. Maybe even have a conversation with your brother-in-law to try to calm him down and explain the situation. Remember, your intention was pure and you shouldn't feel guilty for trying to do something nice for your sister. I don't trust his intentions here. If he had pure intentions, why not sign the card? I would be freaking out, and not in a good way, if I got random flowers at my job from a stranger and not my husband. Like, that is very creepy. He didn't sign it for a reason. Am I the jerk for not attending my sister's wedding after she used my baby name for her dog? I, 29 female, am married to my husband who's 31, and we're currently expecting our first baby after years of trying. It's been an incredibly emotional journey. There were fertility struggles and moments when we doubted we would ever get to this point. Now I'm 6 months along with a healthy baby and we're absolutely over the moon. Ever since I was a teenager, I've had a favorite name, Lila. It's always been my dream name for a daughter. I've talked about it so many times that my whole family knows it as my name. It's deeply meaningful to me because it honors my late grandmother, Delilah. Choosing this name is a way of keeping her memory alive. My husband loves the name as well, so we decided early on that this would be the perfect name for our daughter. About 6 months ago, my younger sister, Emma, who's 27, got a golden retriever puppy. We were all excited for her because she has always been an animal lover and was thrilled to finally have her own dog. When she introduced us to the puppy, she casually said, "This is Lila." At first, I thought she was joking. I even laughed and said, "No way, Emma. You know that's my baby's name." But she just shrugged and replied, "It's a name, not a copyright. I thought it was cute for a dog." I was stunned. I didn't want to make a scene, so I let it go in the moment, but it really bothered me. As time passed, everyone in the family started calling her dog Lila, and it became the default association. At my baby shower last month, I was talking to some family members about the nursery. When I mentioned naming the baby Lila, my aunt laughed and said, "You're not actually naming your baby after Emma's dog, are you?" I felt humiliated. I tried to brush it off, but the more I thought about it, the more it hurt. I finally sat Emma down privately and explained how I was feeling. I told her how important the name is to me, how it's connected to Grandma, and how much it means to me after everything we've been through to have this baby. Emma rolled her eyes and said, "Oh my gosh, are you seriously still mad about this? It's just a dog's name. You do not own Lila." I told her that while I'm still going to name my daughter Lila, she's made it incredibly awkward for me. She laughed and said, "Awkward for you, not for me." Emma is getting married in 2 weeks, and I'm supposed to be her maid of honor. However, I've been feeling more and more like I can't do it. I don't want to stand up there and celebrate her when I feel like she doesn't respect me or care about my feelings. Last week, I told her that I was not sure if I could attend the wedding because of how hurt I've been about everything. She lost it. She called me selfish and accused me of ruining her big day over something as stupid as a name. She even said, "You're the one making this a thing. Nobody cares except you." My parents are siding with her, saying I'm being petty and hormonal and need to let it go because family is more important than a name. My husband, on the other hand, is furious. He feels that Emma has been dismissive and mean and says I should not have to put my feelings aside just to keep the peace. Now I feel torn. I know skipping her wedding is a huge deal, and I don't want to cause a permanent rift, but I also feel like Emma has completely dismissed my feelings and made the situation worse. Am I the jerk for not attending her wedding? If family were more important than a name, Emma would have named her dog something else. Am I the jerk for telling my stepdad and mom that they shouldn't be surprised at what my little brother said to them? I, 20 female, am the older sister to my little biological brother who's 17, who finished high school last year. My brother and I are very close. He often says I'm his best friend and that he loves me more than anyone. While that's sweet, I know it's not entirely true. He has many friends of his own. For over a year, my brother has been asking our stepdad and mom if they could help him get a new car for his graduation party. He even offered to pay 50 to 75% of the cost himself with his hard-earned money, asking only for some financial help from them to cover the rest. Initially, they said no. For context, I have a car, but I worked hard to save for it, and they helped me pay off part of it. My brother felt it was only fair that they support him in the same way. As the months went on, his arguments with our parents escalated. I tried to step in to help, once telling him that I'd chip in for a good car when I could afford to. He hugged me and said I didn't need to worry about it, insisting that he owed me far more than I could ever owe him. Even so, he kept pressing our parents all of last year, and eventually they gave in and agreed to help him buy a car, like they had for me. It's worth noting that my brother and stepdad don't get along. Their relationship has always been strained. Our biological mom and stepdad got together soon after our parents divorced, and my brother suspects that they were involved before the divorce. To be honest, I think that might be true too, but I'm not certain. Eventually, they compromised, agreeing to get him the car in 2021 to avoid any awkwardness at his graduation party. Fast forward to June of this year, and the arguments were still ongoing. By then, the fights between my brother and stepdad had become loud and heated, lasting for hours. Finally, they reached another agreement. The car would be purchased last week. On that morning, my brother woke up to our stepdad and mom guiding him outside to see his car. But it wasn't his. It was our mom's car. Stepdad had used both his and my brother's money on what he called a prank. He had purchased a completely different car model and gifted it to our mom instead. They just laughed, kissed, and thought it was all hilarious. My brother didn't lose his temper. He didn't even look angry. Instead, he stared directly at our stepdad and said, in an eerily calm voice, "You might think I'm stupid. You might think whatever, but I'm just better than you, bro. You know that, I know that, and our mom is an idiot for staying with a jerk like you. But I'll make you wish you'd never met us, I promise you. You might be laughing now, but you'll be crying later." Then my little brother walked off, not looking back as they stood there, horrified. Afterward, that's a scary little brother, man. Afterwards, they turned to me, asking what that was all about. I, feeling absolutely terrible for my brother, Told them they had it coming and shouldn't be surprised. That only made them angrier. Now they've grounded both of us. I can't even see my friends, and I've had to explain the whole situation to them. Thankfully, my friends back me up and have encouraged me to comfort my brother as much as I can. Still, I feel so bad for my brother. He's had his heart crushed, and instead of recognizing that, our parents are just furious. They're so blinded by their anger that they can't even see the pain they've caused. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. That was really cruel, and they used your brother's money for it. But also, how can you be grounded when you're 20 years old? OP. Well, I still live with them, so it is what it is. Info. So if I'm understanding correctly, they took your brother's money, put it towards a new car for your mom, and are giving your brother your mom's old car? Not the jerk. What your mom and stepdad did is deceitful, cruel, and borderline criminal, and both you and your brother would be 100% justified in going no contact with these demented crooks. OP. Yep, but they gave mom's old car away months ago. She's had to use public transport to get around. Terrible situation. Info. I don't understand the most important part of your post. Did you say your stepfather stole your brother's money and bought your mother a car? OP. No, he didn't steal it. I'm sorry, I could have clarified better. Before stepdad purchased the car, my brother and stepdad pooled the money for the car to spend in a single purchase. Not the jerk. I'd move out with my brother if I were you and cut ties with them. If not now, then as soon as it's feasible. Or if your dad is in the picture still, then maybe see if he can step up for you and your brother. They stole your brother's money to buy themselves a vehicle and laughed about it. They're grounding you at the age of 20 because you called them out on it. There is no respect in that house. I wouldn't feel comfortable relying on them for anything. I wouldn't want to go to university when any minute they could renege on whatever fiscal arrangement you guys had made. Also, that's not a prank, that's a crime. Update. I took a break from work today to call my biological dad. Since I'm over the age of 18, custody arrangements between my parents are no longer as strict. In a few weeks, my brother will also turn 18, which will give him the freedom to decide where he wants to live as well. Our biological father currently has legal custody of us 40% of the time, while our biological mother retains 60%. However, my brother and I have agreed that living with our dad is the only way to escape this madness. We've decided to move in with our dad as soon as possible. If it becomes necessary, we're prepared to raise the issue in court. Both of us feel strongly that staying with our biological mother and her husband is not a good option. Right after writing the initial post and reading the advice to consider legal action, I spoke to my brother about it. While he initially felt awkward about the idea, he now feels confident that this is the right step to take. He wants to ensure nothing is delayed or forgotten, especially since he's close to turning 18 and doesn't want the statute of limitations to interfere. Thankfully, we have a few weeks left, which feels relatively safe, but we are also both new to legal matters and learning as we go. Some comments suggested setting up a GoFundMe for my brother, and while he deeply appreciates the kind gesture, he's asked people not to do that. He's determined to take his stepfather to court and seek justice on his own. The overwhelming messages of support have been incredibly touching to him. The offers of free cars from people, especially working parents, truly moved him. He said that these families need their cars more than he does at his age. Knowing there are so many kind and supportive people out there has been a source of great comfort for both of us during this difficult time. For anyone wondering, the car my brother originally wanted was priced at approximately $18,000. He had saved up 75% of that amount, totaling $13,500, and pooled it with the remaining funds provided by our stepfather. Instead of purchasing the car my brother wanted, my stepfather bought a cheaper car for our mother using both his money and my brother's savings. $13,500 is a significant amount of money, and we believe it's absolutely worth going to court over. My brother worked hard for that money, and it was wrongfully used without his permission. How can there be any custody agreement if she's 20 years old? Surely, as a legal adult, she can do whatever she wants. I don't understand. I think OP was telling the truth about not being legally smart. She seems to think the custody agreement is some sort of a package deal. Am I the jerk for refusing to take my ex-girlfriend's 2 other kids with me for Christmas? I, 40 male, have a daughter, Claire, who's 14, with my ex, Amy, who's 39. Amy and I broke up when Claire was born because she felt like we settled down too soon and felt shackled by our relationship and family. We've always shared 50-50 custody ever since. I got married to my now wife, Jane, who's 35, about 5 years ago. Amy went on to have 2 other kids with 2 different men who aren't involved with their kids, so she has full custody of her 2 other kids, then 50% custody of Claire. Her 2 youngest sons are 2 and 4. Claire doesn't love her living situation with her mom. The place is crowded and her two younger brothers are just toddlers. She says they don't leave her alone and she gets no time alone there. So she prefers to stay with me more often now. She also gets along really well with my now wife and wants to spend a lot of time with her. Claire asked me if she could spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with me and Jane. Our regular schedule was that Claire spends Christmas Eve with one of us and Christmas Day with the other. Then we switch it around the next year. I told Claire that I can't give her an answer to that without discussing it with her mom. She asked her mom before I could discuss it with her, and Amy called to tell me it's okay and that Claire can spend both days with me because she has her hands full anyway and it would take some work off of her plate. I'm excited to have both days with Claire, and so is Jane. Jane actually suggested we go somewhere since we have both days to spend with Claire. So we planned a trip to a beach resort in another city. I called Amy to let her know and she said it's fine, but she called me back 2 days later asking if there's any chance I can cancel the beach trip and do something in our city and also include her sons so that she can go and see her family this Christmas. She said her sons don't have passports, so she can't take them to another country with her to visit her family. But this is the only time she has to visit her family because she always has to work. I said I barely know her kids, so it's going to be strange to just take them in and care for them for however many days that she's gone. I want to just relax with my wife and Claire, and taking care of two toddlers that I don't even personally know is not my idea of a good Christmas. That's so much pressure, and I haven't taken care of a toddler in about a decade. I also already told Claire about the beach trip, and she was so excited, so simply staying home isn't an option if it's not an emergency. I don't imagine she'll be too happy to have her brothers come along when she complains about being at her mom's house because of them either. I told Amy the reasons above, except that Claire doesn't like being around her brothers, and she said I'm doing this to punish her for leaving me, and that I could easily take care of her sons, but I'm being spiteful. I told her to stop being ridiculous. We broke up 14 years ago, and I found the love of my life after that. There's no reason on earth for me to be spiteful. I said I really am sorry to decline her request, but I'd rather just be with my immediate family this Christmas. She said she didn't think I was the type to alienate kids out of spite, and she's disappointed in the man I've become. This is the first time since our breakup that we've had an argument or anything even close to it. She usually isn't like this, so while I think it's unreasonable of her to expect me to take care of her two sons while she's gone, I'm kind of worried that I damaged our co-parenting relationship. Not the jerk. She's emotionally blackmailing you so she doesn't have to take care of her kids. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter that she should leave her pet rat at home now that my girlfriend has moved in? I'm 45 male. My girlfriend, who's 45, of 2 years, and I have moved in together. Everything is great and she gets along very well with my kids, at least with my son. I share custody of my two kids, who are 16 and 15, with my ex-wife, who's 40. There's one problem though. My girlfriend has a phobia of mice, rats, squirrels, in other words, rodents. This is something we all know, and people laugh about it, but it's a serious issue for my girlfriend, who can't even see a picture without starting to hyperventilate. My daughter got a rat as a present when she turned 15. She brought it home, and my girlfriend freaked out, and she apparently left the apartment without even noticing that she didn't have her shoes or coat on. I got upset with my daughter because she knows my girlfriend's fear. I told her that she should leave her pet at her mother's house from now on when she comes over. My daughter got upset and started yelling that my girlfriend is being ridiculous, and me too. Her rat wasn't the problem, so it shouldn't have to be kept at her mom's, and that my girlfriend should move out since she's the one who has the problem with the rat, not the rat with her. I told her that we are a family, and family makes compromises. Now she's saying if her rat isn't welcome, then neither is she, and she's planning to stay with her mom until her rat is allowed or my girlfriend moves out. My ex-wife called me to tell me that I'm the jerk for choosing my girlfriend. I told her she was the jerk for getting my daughter this present. Am I the jerk? Update. Yeah, like many here have anticipated, this whole rat thing was planned on purpose, and I have to say it makes sense since I never once had the impression that my daughter even liked rats. I was surprised at the birthday party. My girlfriend and I moved in together about 3 weeks ago, and the rat showed up 10 days ago. I know this now because I've tried to text my daughter about other suggestions, like a second rat, a dog, etc. She has made up her mind, it's her or my girlfriend in the apartment. My son told me all of this. He said that my ex-wife and my daughter have been bashing my girlfriend and calling her a homewrecker. Anyway, my daughter can live with her mother for the time being because, legally speaking, kids here can decide which parent they want to live with at her age. The plot twist is that my son expressed desire to move in permanently with me instead, and I guess that's because of all the drama. My son hates conflict and confrontation. Of course, ex-wife is now bombarding my phone because she believes that I have put my son up to this because my son said he'll start packing a bigger bag today if I agreed to him moving in permanently. He talked about visiting her instead of living there, and I agreed. This is escalating very fast, and I don't seem to have found the brakes to stop the madness. My suggestions made things worse. Thanks for listening. If any 40-plus divorced parents have any advice on how to resolve this issue, I'm all ears. And if it's relevant in any way, I didn't leave my ex. She did. One day she sat me down without forewarning and told me she wasn't happy anymore and wanted a divorce. Everything went fast afterwards, and we were divorced 6 months later. It was never an affair or anything, but I think she liked someone, but it didn't work out. After a few months, she said she regretted it and wanted to reconcile, but I didn't feel right about it. And one thing was her finality in her decision, but most importantly, I wasn't in love with her anymore. So she suggested us dating again. We were supposed to keep that a secret in case the spark didn't reignite, and we would have built up hope for our kids for nothing, but she probably told them anyway. I started dating my now girlfriend around the same time, and I fell in love with her. I ended things with my ex. The odd thing is that she cordially accepted my decision, but apparently she hasn't, and I'm reaping what we sowed now. It felt good to vent about it here, so thanks. And any 40-plus divorced parents who would want to talk, hit me up. Absolutely not interested in input from 20-year-olds with no experience of parenting. Update. Well, my daughter is now refusing to talk to me, and she has moved in with her mom and said that this is permanent. My son moved in here with me, and I can see that he really enjoys it here. I've been blocking my ex-wife's number for periods at a time because I've been receiving all kinds of threats and insults from her saying that I manipulated my son against her. My son is a very quiet boy and has never given me any impression that he's been having a bad time with his mother. I only noticed when he moved here and started talking and opening up about how miserable he's been. The rat, my daughter decided to free him, and she and her mom drove to the woods and just let it go. I'm no expert on rats, but that's the story. My girlfriend and I have decided to get a dog. Maybe that would change my daughter's mind about not visiting. Although I must admit that life has been so much easier now than when she was around, making everyone walk on eggshells not to set her off. Both her and her mom refuse therapy. Over and out. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.